Good morning. Today is Saturday, September 23rd, and it is AA Day. Hello, I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. So, a few rules: no judgment, no harassment. Just be kind to each other in the chat. Um, and please subscribe and comment and share and hit the bell so you can be notified of upcoming videos and live streams. I go live twice a week for AA, and I go live once a week for my adventures to share those. So you're welcome to join any of them. Um, so why am I doing AA meetings here? Well, it was something that I got for free, and I have learned so much about myself and ways to deal with life without alcohol. And just be mindful, not everyone that comes into the chat is a recovering alcoholic or is an alcoholic. They might be here just to support my channel. They might be here to learn ways to help a friend or family member. So please refrain from going anywhere and saying things about people on their channels about them being alcoholic, because that's not always the case. Just because they are here does not mean that they are a recovering alcoholic or an alcoholic. So please don't do that. It's not nice to bully people just because they go into someone's chat. So with that being said, I'm blessed to be awake and sober today. Um, and living life. Oh, it's all right, Lily. It's okay that you're slow, that it's going slow. It happens. Anyways, I am doing AA meetings because of the wonderful gift that they gave me, and that is the strength to stay on my sobriety journey. It's been a long road. It hasn't all been easy. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're an old timer, welcome. I know when I first got to AA, I didn't realize about the friendships I would make with people with me going to AA. I got 2 sponsors, and I have like 5 sponsees. And they all know that they can call me if they need to, they can text me if they need to, or they can email me if they need to. So um, I was invited to go to an AA meeting almost 8 years ago, I want to say, because I did a few months of sobriety on my own. But a friend invited me to meet at an AA meeting, and I did. And so, um, yeah, it just works. Your phone's buffering. I don't know if mine is. Let me check mine.
I'll be back.
Oh, my thumb pushed the wrong button. Mine's not buffering.
I'll be back.
Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get it started with the Serenity Prayer. Please say it along. I will be reading the steps out of this 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book like normal, and then I always put what the beginning title is of the uh, reading that we're on and the page number. So please, if you have a big book, follow along. If not, it's okay. I'm going to read it anyways. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continued to take personal inventory of ourselves and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So we are in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and the one I have is a fourth edition, but you should be able to catch where I'm at pretty easily. So that's the beginning of the chapter, whatever you want to call it. So this one is Our Southern Friend. Pioneer AA minister's son and Southern farmer, he asked, who am I to say there is no God? Father is Episcopal, I can't pronounce that word, minister. His work takes him over long drives on bad roads. His parishioners are limited in number, but his friends are many. For to him, race, creed, our social position makes no difference. It is not long before he drives up in the buggy. Both he and old Maud are glad to get home. The drive was long and cold, but he was thankful for the hot bricks that some thoughtful person had begun or had given him for his feet. Soon supper is on the table. Father says grace, which delays my attack on the buckwheat cake and sausage. Bedtime comes. I climb to my room in the attic. It is cold, so there is no delay. I crawl under a pile of blankets and blow out the candle. The wind is rising and howls around the house, but I am safe and warm. I fall into a dreamless sleep. I am in church. Father is delivering his sermon. A wasp is crawling up the back of the lady in front of me. I wonder if it will reach her neck. Shucks, it has flown away. At last, the message has been delivered. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works. I hunt for my nickel to drop in the plate so that mine will be seen. I am in another fellow's room at college. Freshman, said he to me, do you ever take a drink? He hesitated. Father had never directly spoken to me about drinking, but he never drank any, so far as I knew. Mother hated liquor. And feared a drunken man. Her brother had been a drinker and had died in a state hospital for the insane. But his life was unmentioned so far as I was concerned. I had never had a drink, but I had seen enough merriment in the boys who were drinking it to be interested. I would never be like the village drunkard at home. Well, said the older boy, do you? Once in a while, I lied. I could not let him think I was a sissy. He poured out 2 drinks. Here's looking at you, said he. I gulped it down and choked. I didn't like it, but I would not say so. A mellow glow stole over me. This wasn't so bad after all. Sure, I'd have another. The glow increased. Other boys came in. My tongue loosened. Everyone laughed loudly. I was witty. I had no inferiorities. Why? I wasn't even ashamed of my skinny legs. This was the real thing. A haze filled the room. The electric light began to move. Then 2 bulbs appeared. The faces of the other boys grew dim. How sick I felt. I staggered to the bathroom. Shouldn't have shouldn't have drunk so much or so fast. But I knew how to handle it now. I'd drink like a gentleman after this. And so I met John Barleycorn. Uh, the grand fellow who, at my call, made me a hail fellow well met, who gave me such a fine voice as we sang, Hail, hail, the gang's all here, the sweet Adeline who gave me freedom from fear and feeling of inferiority. Good old John, he was my pal, all right. Final exams of my senior year, and I may somehow graduate. I would never have tried, but mother counts on it so. As case of measles saved me from being kicked out during my sophomore year. But the end is in sight. My last exam and an easy one. I gazed at the board with its questions. Can't remember the answer to the first. I'll try the second. No soap there. I don't seem to remember anything. I concentrate on one of the questions. I don't seem to be able to keep my mind on what I am doing, yet I get uneasy. If I don't get started soon, I won't have time to finish. No use, I can't think. I leave the room which the honor system allows. I go to my room, I pour out half a tumbler of grain alcohol and fill it with ginger ale. Now back to the exam. My pen moves rapidly. I know enough of answers to get my good old John Barleycorn. He can be depended on. What a wonderful power he has over the mind. He has given me my diploma. Underweight, how I ate that word. Three at 3 attempts to enlist in service, and 3 failures because of being skinny. True, I have recently recovered from pneumonia and have an alibi, but my friends are in the war or going, and I am not. I visit a friend who is awaiting orders. The atmosphere of eat, drink, and be merry prevails, and I absorb it. I drink a lot every night. I can hold a lot now, more than others. I am examined for the draft and pass the physical test. I am to go to camp on November 13th. The armistice is signed on the 11th and the draft is called off. Never in the service. The war leaves me with a pair of blankets, a toilet kit, a sweater knit by my sister, and a still greater sense of inferiority. It is 10 o'clock of, of a Saturday night. I am working hard on the books of a subsidiary company of a large corporation. I have had experience in selling, in collecting, and in accounting, and I am on my way up the ladder. Then the crack up cotton struck, the skids of collections went cold. A $23 million surplus wiped out. Offices closed up and workers discharged. I and the books of my division have been transferred to the head office. I have no assistants and am working nights, Saturdays, and Sundays. My salary has been cut. My wife and new baby are fortunately staying with relatives. I feel exhausted. The doctor has told me that if I don't give up inside work, I'll have tuberculosis. But what am I to do? I have a family to support and have no time to be looking for another job. I reach for the bottle that I just got from George, the elevator boy. I am a traveling salesman. The other day, the day is over and business has been not so good. I'll go to bed. I wish I were home with the family and not in the dingy hotel. Well, well, look who's here. Good old Charlie. It's great to see him. How's the boy? A drink? You bet your life. We buy a gallon of corn because it is so cheap. Yet I am fairly steady when I go to bed. Morning comes, I feel horrible. A little drink will put me on my feet, but it takes others to keep me there. I become a teacher in a boys' school. I am happy in my work. I like the boys, and we have lots of fun in class and out. See. The doctor bills are heavy and the bank account is low. My wife's parents came to our assistance. I am filled with hurt pride and self pity. I seem to get no sympathy from my illness or for my illness and have no appreciation of the love behind the gift. I call the bootlegger and fill up my charred keg, but I do not wait for the charred keg to work. I got drunk. My wife is extremely unhappy. Her father comes to sit with me. He never says any unkind word. He is a real friend, but I do not appreciate him. Excuse me. We are staying with my wife's father. Her mother is in a critical condition at the hospital. I cannot sleep. I must get myself together. I sneak downstairs and get a bottle of whiskey from the cellar. I pour drink down my throat. My father-in-law appears. Have a drink, I ask. He makes no reply and hardly seems to see me. His wife dies that night. Mother has been dying of cancer for a long time. She is near the end now and in the hospital. I've been drinking a lot but never get drunk. Mother must never know. I see her about to go. I return to the hotel where I am staying and get gin from the bellboy. I drink and go to bed. I take a few the next morning and go see my mother once more. I cannot stand. I go back to the hotel and get more gin. I drink steadily. I come to at 3 in the morning. The indescribable torture has me again. I turn on the light. I must get out of the room or I shall jump out the window. I walk miles. No use. I go to the hospital where I have made friends with the night superintendent. She puts me she puts me to bed and gives me a hypodermic. I am at the hospital to see my wife. We have another child, but she is not glad to see me. I've been drinking while the baby was arriving. Her father stays with her. It is a cold, bleak day in November. I have fought hard to stop drinking. Each battle has ended in defeat. I tell my wife I cannot stop drinking. She begs me to go to a hospital for alcoholics that has been recommended. I say I will go. She makes the arrangements, but I will not go. I'll do it all myself. This time I'm off of it for good. I'll just take a few beers now and then. It is the last day of the following October, a dark rainy morning. I came to on a pile of hay in a barn. I look for liquor and can't find any. I wandered to a table and drank 5 bottles of beer. I must get some liquor. Suddenly I feel hopeless, unable to go on. I go home. My wife is in the living room. She had looked at me last evening after I left the car and wandered off into the night. She had looked for me this morning. She has reached the end of her rope. There is no use trying any more, for there is nothing to try. Don't say anything, I say to her. I am going to do something. I'm in the hospital for alcoholics. I am an alcoholic. The insane asylum lies ahead. Could I have myself locked up at home? One more foolish idea. I might go out west on a ranch where I can't get anything to drink. I might do that. Another foolish idea. I wish I were dead, as I have often wished before. I am too yellow to kill myself. For alcoholics play bridge in a smoke-filled room. Anything to get my mind from myself. The game is over and the other three leave. I start to clean up the debris. One man comes back, closing the door behind him. He looks at me. You think you are hopeless, don't you? He asks. I know it, I reply. Well, you're not, says the man. There are men on the streets of New York today who are worse than you, and they don't drink anymore. What are you doing here then? I ask. I went out of here 9 days ago saying that I was going to be honest and I wasn't, he answers. A fanatic, I thought to myself, but I was polite. What is it? I inquire. I need a drink of my soda. Then he asked me if I believe in a power greater than myself, whether I call that power God, Allah, Confucius, whatever that is, prime cause, divine mind, or any other name. I told him I believe in elec- electricity and other forces of nature, but as for a God, if there is one, he has never done anything for me. Then he asked me if I am willing to right all the wrongs I have ever done to anyone. No matter how wrong I thought the others were, am I willing to be honest with myself, about myself, and tell someone about myself? And am I willing to think of other people, of their needs instead of myself, in order to get rid of the drink problem? I'll do anything, I reply. Then all of your troubles are over, says the man, and leaves the room. The man is in bad mental shape, certainly. I pick up a book and try to read, but I cannot concentrate. I get in bed and turn out the light, but I cannot sleep. Suddenly a thought comes. Can all the worthwhile people I have known be wrong about God? Then I find myself thinking about myself and a few things that I had wanted to forget. I begin to see I am not the person I had thought myself, that I had judged myself by comparing myself to others and always to my own advantage. It was a shock. Then comes a thought that is like a voice. Who are you to say there is no God? It rings in my head. I can't get rid of it. I get out of bed and go to the man's room. He is reading. I must ask you a question, I say to the man. How does praying fit into this thing? Well, he answers, we probably tried praying like I have. When you've been in a jam, you've said, God, please do this or that. And if it turned out your way, that was the last of it. And if it didn't, you've said, there isn't any God, or he doesn't do anything for me. Is that right? Yes, I replied. That isn't the way, he continued. The thing I do is to say, God, here I am, and here are all my troubles. I've made a mess of things and can't do anything about it. You take me and all my troubles and do anything you want with me. Does that answer your question? Yes, it does. I answer. I return to bed. It doesn't make sense. Suddenly I feel a wave of utter hopelessness sweep over me. I am in the bottom of hell, and there a tremendous hope is born. It might be true. I tumble out of bed onto my knees. I know not what I say, but slowly a great peace comes to me. I feel lifted. I believe in God. I crawl back into bed and fall and sleep like a child. Some men and women come to visit my friend of the night before. He invites me to meet them. They are a joyous crowd. I have never seen people that joyous before. We talk. I tell them of the peace and that I believe in God. I think of my wife. I must write her. One girl suggests that I phone her. What a wonderful idea. My wife hears my voice and she knows that I have found the answer to life. She comes to New York. I get out of the hospital and we visit some of these newfound friends. I am home again. I have lots of fellowship. Those who understand me as far away, or that understand me are far away. The same old problems and worries still surround me. Members of my family annoy me. Nothing seems to be working out right. I am blue and unhappy. Maybe a drink. I put on my hat and out in the car, dash off in the car. Get into the lives of other people is one thing the fellows in New York had said. I go to see a man I had been asking to visit and tell him my story. I feel much better. I have forgotten about a drink. I am on a train headed for a city. I have left my wife at home sick, and I have been unkind to her in leaving. I am very unhappy. Maybe a few drinks when I get to the city will help. A great fear seizes me. I talk to the stranger in the seat beside me. The fear and this insane idea are taken away. Things are not going so well at home. I am learning that I cannot have my own way as I used to. I blame my wife and children. Anger possesses me, anger such as I have never felt before. I will not stand for it. I pack my bag and I leave. I stay with some understanding friends. I see where I have been wrong, so in some respect. I do not feel angry anymore. I return home and say I am sorry for my wrong. I am quiet again, but I have not seen yet that I should do some constructive act of love without expecting any return. I shall learn this after some more explosions. I am blue again. I want to sell the place and move away. I want to get where I can find some alcoholics to help and where I can have some fellowship. A man calls me on the phone. Will I take a young fellow who has been drinking for 2 weeks to live with me? Soon I have others who are alcoholics and some who have other problems. I begin to play God. I feel like I can fix them all. I do not fix anyone, but I'm getting part of a tremendous education and I have made some new friends. Nothing is right. Finances are in bad shape. I must find a way to make some money. The family seems to think of nothing but spending. People annoy me. I try to read, I try to pray. Gloom surrounds me. Why has God left me? I mope around the house. I will not go out and I will not enter into anything. What is the matter? I cannot understand. I will not be that way. I'll get drunk. It is a cold blooded idea. It is premeditated. I fix up a little apartment over the garage with books and drinking water. I am going to town to get some liquor and food. I shall not drink until I get back to apartment. Then I shall lock myself in and read, and as I read I shall take little drinks at long intervals. I shall get myself mellow and stay that way. I get in my car and drive off. Halfway down the driveway a thought strikes me. I'll be honest anyway. I tell my wife what I am going to do. I back up to the door and go into the house. I call my wife into a room where we can talk privately. I tell her quietly what I intended to do. She says nothing. She does not get excited. She maintains a perfect calm. When I am through speaking, the whole idea has become absurd. Not a trace of fear is in me. I laugh at the insanity of it. Get, get out of there. No, sorry, the dog. Okay. We talk of other things. Strength has come from weakness. I cannot see the cause of the temptation now, but I am to learn later that it began with my desire for material success becoming greater than my interest in the welfare of my fellow man. I learned more of the that foundation stone of character, which is honesty. I learned that when we act upon the highest conception of honesty that is given us, our sense of honesty becomes more acute. I learned that honesty is truth and that truth shall make us free. And I agree. Truth will make us free. And we have to be truthful with ourselves first. And then we can tell somebody. And then we can share it with more. Exactly what I'm doing here is sharing more of my journey. So, um, I I helped one person that wasn't grateful, that I no longer speak to, and I I blamed everyone uh, for it. It's and I'm not talked to this person since. It's really hard because I wanted better for him, and uh, he just stopped talking to me. So, um, so I still get mad. I still get upset. Um, I feel blue sometimes, and I have to always remember that for my sobriety, I have to be honest with myself and to another human being. And I have to know that when I need help, I need to ask for it, from the group. In other words, when I know I need a meeting, I go to a meeting, and I now know I've known for a long time now that I know how to tell when I need to go to a meeting because I will have a period of where I'm struggling with a lot in my mind, and so I will reach out to someone, but as well as sorry, I'm tired today. Um, but I want people to know that they're not alone. We're not the only ones. You're not the only one who suffers this. There are a lot of us, and there is groups out there um, that I have some really good friends from AA that I still talk to, and I don't go to meetings all the time. So um, it's just it's great to have. It's good to have people that understand the feelings that you are feeling. Um, like I wanted to stay in the area where I found my fellowship, but I also had to remember that there are meetings everywhere. Um, and they're not all big, humongous meetings. So, um, but I like the smaller meetings. So, this part, I see where I have been wrong in some respects. I don't feel angry anymore. I return home and say I'm sorry for my wrongs. I am quiet again, but I have not seen yet that I should do some constructive act of love. without expecting any return. I shall learn this after some more explosions. Yeah, you can't expect somebody to feel something if you're not willing to uh give it back. Um and this is another part that gets me. I am blue again. I want to sell the place and move away. I want to get where I can find some alcoholics to help and where I can have some fellowship, right? Now, you know, in groups, I my first meeting that I went to, um, I got a list of numbers, phone numbers from the ladies in the meeting, and I am so glad that I got that list because um after my first meeting, now I mind you, I've been sober for at least 90 days before I started AA. Well, yeah, so I started AA in like late March, early April of 2015, I want to say. But so I started AA, and when I got that list of people from my first meeting, um, I called three numbers to find out when the next meeting was because I really wanted to start going. But even in doing so, I really never, in the beginning, I didn't feel comfortable to be there with all of them and speak about myself. So I still hadn't found my voice. But then um, I met, when I started doing camp hosting, I met another lady. Um, she is my grandma's age. Maybe, no, she's younger than my grandma. But anyway, so she was a recovering alcoholic. So she was my coworker. And I was honest with everyone. When I started that job, I told them I am a recovering alcoholic because no matter where I'm at, I'm proud that I'm a recovering alcoholic because that means I'm not drinking anymore. So I always share that about myself. I'm not ashamed of it, like I used to be. So, but I ended up having uh, two very good sponsors that are still with me to this day. They're still my sponsors. And I have like four or five of the best sponsees that they can be, and when they need my help with what should they do, they call me, which is what that's what I'm for. That's what a sponsor does. A sponsor helps the sponsee with the hard times, with the good times, on different ways that you can make it a better situation or a calmer situation, and it's just great to have that person or those people, especially going into meetings. It is great to have those people who share the same thing as me or and you go into a meeting, you hear somebody talking and telling part of their story in a meeting, and you're like me, I was amazed because it spoke to me in the fact that that happened to that person too. They have the same thing that I went through. They've done some of the same things that I had done, etc., etc. We're human. We're just recovering alcoholics. And we have a fellowship that helps each other out. And holding sobriety first. My sobriety is my number one. Because if I don't have my sobriety, I don't have anything. Because I'll lose it all. And I'm not willing to lose it all. And believe me, it don't take no time for you to go right back down to the very bottom of that bottle where you came from. I've done it. Yeah. I had 1 year sober and I went back out. And that started off with one drink. So for me, I know that it's true that, you know, you could end up going back down that road. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. If I had known that, I would have gone right back down to where I was before, because I hadn't done AA for that year that I first quit. The first time that I quit drinking, I didn't go to AA. I didn't have any support group other than my husband and my son. But I thought, okay, well, I'm going to just go ahead and try this drink. And, that was a bad idea because I did. I went right back down and it took no time at all. The day that I had that drink was the day I went right back to the bottom of the bottle. And when I finally decided to stay sober, it was after, well, it was right before I started going to AA. And being aware that there are people that I can call who will listen and give me advice on things that I need to try to do to change my way of thinking. Self pity, hating myself and all that stuff. And so I'm blessed to have that. I'm blessed to have this fellowship that has helped me to stay sober for 8 years, 10 months, 8 days, or 3,234 days. It's an achievement, and I'm proud because only me could have done it. Only me, for me, has done it. I can't do it for anybody else. I can help along the way, but I can't do it for you. You have to work the steps, and you have to want it for yourself. You can't want it for somebody else because when you want it for somebody else, it doesn't work. And that part kind of, it is what it is. You can't. So if you want to go for a drive, you drive yourself. If you're the one that wants to drive yourself, you see, if it's only you can drive a car. Only you can help yourself. Only you can change yourself. Only you can choose not to drink. Only you can set up a plan to get away. If there's alcohol and you feel like something's coming on, like you're feeling any kind of way about, oh, I'm getting pressured to drink, leave. Have your way out. Always have your way out. And whatever you can't fit into your hula hoop, which your hula hoop is around you, everything outside of that is not your problem. It is not your control. You can only control your actions, your reactions, your thoughts, your everything. You can only do you. And if you don't do you, you can't help anybody else. So why wouldn't you want to just get better for you? You're worth it. You're worth every single day. The alcohol is not worth it. It's not worth your family. It's not worth your life. It's not worth the heartache, the pain, the self pity. It's not worth it. I've been sober that long and I feel my real feelings. I'm not feeling something that isn't real. I've had some very wonderful, amazing days since I quit drinking. I've had some down days where I'm just isolated myself, which isn't good, but sometimes I need that to like calm myself. But everybody has those days, and going through the bad days, they don't override the good. So being a recovering alcoholic versus being the alcoholic is a lot better. A lot better. So I always get a daily reflections app on my phone. So I'm going to read that for today. And then we'll say the Serenity Prayer and go about our weekend. September 23rd, 23. I was an exception. He, Bill W., said to me gently and simply, "Do you think that you are one of us?" Alcoholics Anonymous, page 413, third edition. Let's see, I have the fourth edition. During my drinking life, I was convinced I was an exception. I thought I was beyond petty requirements and had a right to be excused. I never realized that the dark counterbalance of my attitude was the constant feeling that I did not belong. At first, in AA, I identified with others only as an alcoholic. What a wonderful awareness for me it has been to realize that if human beings were doing the best they could, then so was I. All of the pains, confusion, and joys they feel are not exceptional, but part of life, just as much as anybody's. Yes. Because we all have the same things. We all go through the same struggles. We're all battling the same battle. But when you have the knowledge of the steps we need to take, have the knowledge of knowing you can share your story, that you can reach out to someone and have that help of staying sober. Reach out. Please reach out. You're worth it. You're worth every single day. The alcohol isn't. Alcohol is a miserable life. Very miserable. I don't miss those days. I mean, sure, I had fun days while I was drinking, but for sure it wasn't always fun. Not when you're drinking every day, all day. So just know that if today is your first day, just know you're not alone. We're all battling the same thing. Even if you've been sober all your life, you're still battling the same thing. But it's worth it. So much worth it. Well, let's say the Serenity Prayer so we can get on with our Saturday. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Puppy kisses. Love you all.